Hello, everybody. This is Naz, and men lie, women lie, but stats don't lie. Welcome to our Kiev Major Compendium Prediction Special. I have my good friend Merlini here with me. We're going to talk about how to get yourself some of those sweet, juicy Battle Pass points. So just to give you an overview of the tournament, really the big different thing this time around is that the group stage is going to be played in Swiss format. So there actually will be a few more games played than Boston. We're going to have 30 best of threes in the group stage, and then another 14 best of threes plus a best of five played in the playoff bracket. So you're going to see a few more matches than we saw at Boston or DAC. That'll affect some of the picks that we're talking about. And we're just going to go through the four compendium categories here one at a time. I'm going to try and get some of Merlini's wisdom here. Heroes, Ben, I trust you got Dota up. Who do you got?
I have Crystal Maiden picked.
Okay, I was actually really curious about this. I think I'm going to stay with Rubik. Really, the question is, if you look back at DAC, the three most picked heroes were all nerfed. So Monkey King, Earth Spirit, and Centaur. I don't think it's going to be any of those. And so really, it's the question of, do you go back and you trust Rubik, who's been sort of consistently among the most picked, or the 7.05 data that we have so far? Crystal Maiden is by far the most picked, but those are almost all SEA and China games. So the question is, how much do you believe that those games are representative of what we're going to see in a tournament that has a lot more representation from the Western teams? So CM would be my second choice there. Most banned, I think I'm going to stick with Magnus. What do you think, Ben?
I still wanted to go back to the most picked because I think that there are actually some other honorable mentions. I think Juggernaut and Warlock and Slardar also still deserve some discussion. Slardar, because I think he's good first pick material, and he's been nerfed and unpopular to the point where he's not really banned, but I still could see him being picked up a lot.
Sure.
I think mostly we're looking at heroes that can be played in multiple roles, like 4 and 5, or like 1 and 2. Like Juggernaut, I think, is also a worthy pick for most pick, but I think he's probably going to be banned a little bit more often. So I guess if I had to choose one, it'd be Warlock, CM, Slardar, or Rubik. But which one do you think is most popular across all of the scenes?
So I tend to stick with supports for the last few majors for most pick, just because nobody bans supports anymore, other than the two big roamers, the Earth Spirit and the Monkey King. Like, supports just don't get banned. And what you'll sometimes see is that if a core pick starts really trending during a tournament, like a Juggernaut or something, when it first moved into the mid or the offlane role, like, people just start banning it. But the same isn't necessarily true of supports. Like, you saw Ogre start to trend really heavily at TI, and still a lot of teams were very, very slow to ban it. So, like I said, I would, of the ones that you mentioned, I guess Slardar is the one that could definitely come back to the forefront because of all the other heroes that were super popular for a while getting nerfed. You could see him have a little bit of a resurgence, but I'm going to stick pretty firmly with Rubik and CM. Rubik, CM, and Slardar.
Okay, I'm going with CM.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And I actually think that's a really, really good shot. Most banned, are you going to stay with Magnus?
Magnus.
Okay, yeah. I despite the Empower nerf, I mean,
you can just pick CM to counter it, right?
Exactly. Highest. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the only other consideration is ES, but I think, as you mentioned, he's been nerfed to the point where he is not going to be first pick. But I still could see him being most banned just because he is still a pretty ridiculous hero.
I mean, I look at the numbers, and that almost a 50% reduction in the level 1 rolling boulder slow. That's just so huge.
That's true. And Monkey King's definitely got nerfed harder than he is. I think it's just, we should definitely pick Magnus.
Okay, all right. So now I want to talk about the minimum 5 game categories are a little bit of a toss-up. You generally want to pick a hero that you are very confident is going to be picked in 5 games, but you don't necessarily want to pick a hero that's going to appear in a lot of games because you get regression toward the mean. So for highest win rate, I like niche picks that are mostly run by good teams, in other words. And for highest win rate, I'm going to go with Visage. Visage was 8-0 in DAC until OG lost 2 games with it in the grand finals with some questionable drafts.
I also had Visage.
Okay.
However, I had other picks that I think warrant discussion. Brood, could make a resurgence
Ooh.
after getting a lot of buffs. I don't think it's gonna have like 100% win rate though.
Yeah.
I think it would probably have like a 65 or something.
No, I think Brood is you. The other thing you look at is like last pick heroes, right? Brood definitely fits that profile.
Huskar, Omni, and Winter Wyvern were my other three. Huskar, I just don't think is good, so I don't think that hero's gonna win. Omni and WW, I definitely think could be like pretty good, but I don't know if they're going to be picked 5 times. So
of those, Omni I think is definitely a factor. Like Omni out of the blue started getting first phase banned in DPL, and a lot of people looking at that league were like, "What the hell's going on?" And then all of a sudden, a couple games they gave it away, and it looks to me like a lot of the Chinese teams have been scrimming heavily with it. So I wouldn't. Omni's actually a pretty good direction to go, sort of an out of left field pick. Hero with the highest kill average, I just tend to go with OD by default. It's a hero that I think is going to be picked 5 times, and that's what it's supposed to do. That's its job. What do you think? What are your other alternatives here?
I put it's almost always the same ones, even across patches. I put my like 7 that I pulled from is TA, Storm, Quap, Tinker, Invoker, OD, Ember. I think Ember, Invoker are going to be picked too much to stand out in this category.
I agree.
So I think Tinker also is generally just not going to have some good games because he's going to be first picked by a few teams. So that leaves OD, Quap, Storm, and TA. Storm also I think is going to be picked too much. So TA, Quap, and Invoker. I think TA just generally has a lot of kills because it's generally 5th picked. You know what the matchup's going to be mid, and you have a lot of minus armor synergized with it.
Yeah, I think the 3 that you settled on are really the best picks, just because the other thing I'll add about TA and OD is that they tend to be, of the teams in the tournament, it's the good teams that are tending to pick these heroes. You add in Quap just on the potential of like a Sumail Quap game. I think that's a decent bet. The other thing is I'm actually not. I don't know that Quap passes the I'm sufficiently confident she's going to be picked 5 times test. Is my only problem.
That's true.
Okay, so
but what if a hero's like likely going to be picked like 20 times versus a hero that you think is going to be picked like 3 to 4? Would you want the one that's going to be picked 3 to 4 or the one that's going to be picked 20?
I am almost always going to go with the 20 pick hero, just because I think it's like Zero's killing average, right? Once you start, if you look at the expected points earned from a category like this, once you start picking heroes that have a pretty high probability of not being picked 5 games, so you have no chance, your expected points go down really quick.
Okay, so let's say TA then.
Yeah, I think an OD would be kind of the ones I'd settle on. I'm gonna go with a hero that I bet you don't have for highest assist average. I'm gonna go Spectre, and
I have Spectre.
Do you really? All right. We obviously didn't coordinate this ahead of time. No, Spectre, if you look at the DAC numbers, Spectre was actually like her record was 6-2. It wasn't dominating at DAC, but she tended to be picked by good teams in pretty favorable matchups. And it's just a hero that right now that hero exists to get assists as much as it does kills, especially in long matches.
Other considerations, the ones that always have high assists are AA and Zeus. I don't think they'll be picked 5 times, so they're out of the question.
So can Zeus be a thing? Is this your hero now? Is Zeus ready yet? 57% pub win rate and still gets buffed? No, all right. Yep, I didn't think so either.
Tinker or BH, I think also. Like Tinker just generally has pretty long games.
Yeah.
I think, and BH, I don't know if we could be picked 5 times, but track assists. Okay, I don't know. It just seems like sometimes when there's BH games, there's like not that many kills actually. Spectre is just guaranteed to get a lot of assists. I think.
No, I was surprised if you look at the highest assist averages, it's from DAC. It's of course mostly supports, but the actual like highest assists in a single game tend to be core dominated in longer games.
Yeah, so, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So fewest deaths, I almost always just go with Morphling by default, and I'm pretty confident he's going to be picked 5 times.
Is he going to pick 5 times?
Yeah, I think so.
Liquid plays him.
Right. Liquid plays him. I can see OG taking a flyer on him for Miracle. I think he's going to be picked somewhere between 5 and 10 times, and he's unlikely to have a lot of deaths in any of those games.
Okay. How about these two? Lone Druid and Medusa.
Medusa, I think, is pretty good, although she's vulnerable to having a bad
die.
game.
Okay.
Lone Druid, I don't have a great feel for how good that hero is post nerf. I really don't.
Okay. Just wanted to throw it out there.
No, it's fair enough.
I also put Morphling.
All right. Did you really? Highest last hit average and most last hits in a game are both Naga. That's like the closest you get to a free points category. It's not.
I put Alk in hero with most last hits.
Most last hits in a single game or most last hits average?
Yeah, most last hits in a single game. Last hit average, I put Naga.
Okay, so for the record, the two highest last hit totals at DAC were both on Naga. They were actually GH when Liquid ran Naga in a longer game. I think there was an Alk game sprinkled in there, but Alk, the thing about Alk is that like when he gets ahead, he can actually finish a game pretty quickly. He doesn't necessarily want to be in a long drawn out game. A Naga is a hero that always likes to be in long games. So
I think Alchemist is going to be picked more though.
Oh, absolutely.
I think 100%. We agree in the highest last hit average one.
Yep, but you think most last hits in the game, you're just going to get more chances with Alk, and I think that's a totally fair strategy. If you look at the averages, Naga at DAC averaged like 722 last hits a game, almost 200 more than the next closest, which is actually Luna. So it's like every time Naga gets picked, it's ridiculous almost. Anyway, highest XPM. This is a little bit where the sort of probability trade-off comes into play. I'm gonna go Meepo, even though it's not a slam dunk that it does get picked 5 times, but if it gets picked 5 times.
Yeah, it's like the 3 or 4 versus the 20 pick.
Exactly.
If he gets I think it's just like almost 100% if he gets picked 5 times.
And the thing is, you do have 2 Meepo players in this tournament. You do have Wee and Abed in this tournament, right? At DAC, you had Chappie, which is a pretty good Meepo player. I believe NP picked it once for AUI, but nothing like the staple that it is for those two. Hero with most kills in a game. Here's where I'm going to borrow your strategy. I'm going to go with a hero that I think I'm going to have a lot of chances on. That's the Invoker.
I also put Invoker.
Okay. All right, teams. This is where I am a lot less confident. I think there's a lot of chance coming into this tournament for several teams to do well, and particularly when you talk about single elimination. I kind of just have to go with OG to win. It just feels, it feels like not the percentage play to do anything else. I have this feeling that I thought that Newbie was due for a while. They didn't look particularly good at DAC. But they've had a few DPL matches since DAC, and they've looked pretty good in those. And in particular, they beat IG. So I'm tempted to go with Newbie as a backup, but I just can't pick against OG.
Okay. How about give me your top 5 teams in order?
Ooh, top 5 in order is tough. Obviously, you look at OG, you look at EG, Newbie. I think you might throw IG up there, but I'm not.
You're not on IG train, dude?
I'm not completely sold yet, so we'll talk about this in one of the other categories, but if they actually,
I have them as I put them to win.
You put them to win. So the thing that concerns me about IG, they actually only picked 30 different heroes. They had the fewest different heroes picked at DAC. I think this is a team going into DAC that not many other teams explicitly scouted and prepared for. There's a lot of data out there on them. They've played a ton of games. They've played it even since DAC. They've played a ton of games in DPL and a couple other leagues. IG looks to me like a team that's a little bit vulnerable to getting figured out. They're very, very good, and they're definitely in my top 5, but I don't think they're going to win in single elimination. I actually don't.
Okay. Well, I have a couple things to run by you. Firstly, I'm not actually on the Newbie train just because of they haven't won any tournaments, and even the ones that they're close to winning, it's not even like I don't really think they could have won. Like
so you don't think they could have won ESL Genting?
I think they could have, but it's to be fair.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
The quality of the team was not very high.
Fair enough.
And I think they also only ran one strat during that time, which I think is a very big concern because we see them trying to experiment with Alk and Ursa, even though they aren't that good with them. Yeah. And it's just they don't actually have that deep of a pool of strategies, I think. And
well, they try to run a much bigger pool of strategies than they're confident with, and that's I think you hit on really the heart of the matter, and that's that the way they play, they badly need to get SECC into a rhythm, and they tend to pick him heroes that he just doesn't look comfortable on a lot of the time. So yeah.
And then what about, you don't believe in Dat Dota's ELO rankings for IG being way ahead of OG?
Nah, part of that is because I just taught a whole class to undergraduates on ELO, and I believe in ELO as a concept, but I think that the way that we do ELO is not yet that well optimized. I think I have a couple of refinements that can make it a little better. The way that those Data ELO rankings work is the winner of the latest LAN, especially if it's a big LAN with a lot of games and most of the top teams, is almost always going to be number one.
Okay.
Right.
And then I have a couple more cases for IG because I think this is a really important one.
It is. It's 25 points.
I think that when teams are able to roll teams in like 15 or 20 minutes, that lends a lot more credibility to them, I think. And I think that the fact that they were able to do that, and the times that they do lose, it's usually like 40 plus, then you
don't think that comes down to style? Like Liquid fits that profile too, right? When Liquid has the biggest split between average duration and wins and losses. Their wins are under 40, and their losses at DAC average almost 50. So like, I think I agree with you, and it's the principle that you're espousing is definitely valid in other sports where margin of victory matters. Match duration in Dota is a lot more indicative of play style than margin of victory in many cases.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think.
But IG is a good
IG or OG. I think should definitely be here, just given by recent statistics and everything else. Okay, teams with the most kills in the game.
I'll just go. I'm very conflicted about this. I have down OG, but I could be easily talked out of it. I actually wouldn't be surprised. I have Virtus Pro as the team with the highest kill average, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have most kills in a game too, just because that's the way they play. Like they get kill. Of all the teams in the tournament, VP is the one that needs to get kills to win the most.
But you also need a team with long games though to have most kills in a game.
Yes, that's true. Which is why
long games?
No, they don't. So the thing is, the weird thing about the last couple of patches is if you look at the pro match data, the number of kills per minute is actually quite negatively correlated with match length. So just picking a team that plays a bunch of long games anymore, like if you look at the hour-plus games at DAC, they actually had fewer kills per minute than the Modal 40-minute game by a lot. So it's really tricky now just going with a team that's going to play a bunch of long games.
Yeah, I put EG for this category.
I think that's fair.
I guess
it's important.
Any top 5 team.
It's important for people that are watching. I say this in most of these videos, but just in case you haven't seen one before, anytime you look at the most X in one game, those categories have a huge amount of uncertainty when you're comparing to highest average X, etc. Like anything can happen in one game. So yeah, I think when you say most kills in a game, you go ahead and pick OG, newbie, EG, IG, whatever you want. I do like VP quite a bit for highest kill average. Who do you have in that category?
Highest kill average, I put IG.
I think, yeah. And any good team
is gonna win.
Yeah,
any good team.
Yeah, no, and I mean but for the record, the DAC data supports you. IG was over 27 kills. There was nobody else over 25.5. But again, that's skewed just because they had a very, very good tournament. Team with the fewest deaths in a game, I tend to go OG Liquid. Those are two teams that when or maybe EG, those are two teams that when they get ahead, they put games away, and they tend to put them away in very dominating fashion.
So which one did you put? Sorry,
team with fewest deaths. I have OG, but I think Liquids. I think they beat. It was either NP or VGJ that they beat 26-5 at DAC. Like Liquid and OG and EG are the three teams that when they get ahead in a game, when they get big leads in the game, they're not going to take it out to 35, 40 minutes where they're certain to beat you. They're going to end it at 25.
Okay. I agree.
All right.
I also put Liquid.
You put Liquid. All right. Liquid's sort of my number 2 behind OG there. Team with the most assists, I will go with IG for that one. They play enough long games, and they have both of their supports tend to rack up the assists.
I put EG in this.
EG is a fine choice there.
It's a single game one, so it's
although the only nit I'll pick with that is that Crit's assist numbers tend to be a little bit weak relative to other fives. Like if you compare Crit versus Q is consistently has a little bit higher kill participation rate. Team that wins the longest game, again, I'll just take a flyer on OG. I think IG, OG, Newbie are the three easiest. Teams that win the shortest game, Liquid.
I put Thunderbirds.
Okay, all right, fair enough. You think
I kind of view them as a Liquid.
You think Thunderbirds is just gonna like pick an Abed Meepo and just or Thunderbirds is old DC
Wii Meepo maybe?
Yeah, Wii Meepo. All right, same thing.
Maybe, possibly. No one's even seen them. Have they even played? Who knows what they're doing?
I agreed, and that's the thing. They're actually going to be a really fun team to watch. I kind of a lot of people are counting them out, but everything that I've heard is that they didn't take those last couple lands too super seriously. I think they might be a lot better than people think.
And they're looking for a sponsor. I think that's also more motivation too. Like they're not officially sponsored by anyone, right?
That is the thing. Absolutely.
How are you gonna be like, hey, we got 13th out of 16th at the last tournament. You want to pick us up? I don't think that's gonna go well.
No, I don't think so. Team with the highest game length average, I put Newbie. Newbie was the highest game length average at DAC. I think it's a reason. There were several teams that were very, very close. IG was up there as well. I don't think
I put Liquid. I think Newbie is a pretty good choice.
Liquid actually, again, it has a lot to do with how successful you think Liquid's going to be at the tournament. If you think Liquid is going to be really good in this tournament, you probably don't want to have them for highest.
Isn't their play style though just lends itself to that? Like they pick a lot of like Wisp, Split Pusher, and a lot of Anaga.
Yeah, but remember that the game windows are a lot tighter than they used to be. Yeah. Like there was not.
Put Newbie. I'm switching.
Okay, all right. I think Newbie's the pick. Like it's weird, right? We'll talk about this later on, but it's weird that there were no 80+ minute games at DAC.
They were close.
Yeah, there were a couple that were close, but there were none at Boston either. So very, very weird. Most different heroes, I'm going to go with EG for that category every time.
I also put EG.
And fewest, I'm going to go with IG because, again, despite winning DAC, they only picked 30 different heroes.
I think this one's different just because because of the Swiss format, almost every team is – not every team, but I think any team that you pick, even the crummiest team, is going to have a very high chance of getting 10 teams played. It's kind of like the Team Archon at whatever major it was. So I just pick a team that I think is not going to do very well. Because you're guaranteed minimum 3 BO3s in Swiss and then 1 BO3 in the single elimination. Right. So minimum 4 BO3s, and then if you all you need to do is either drag 2 of those out to 3 games, or you need to win 1 of your 3 series to make it actually a 4 series in your Swiss to make it 10 games. And I think that's very high probability that any given team, even the crummiest team, is going to be able to play 10 games. So I think IG's they're likely going to play more than they're going to play more matches. 4 series.
Yeah. No, that's right. So I think that's fair.
So I think we should pick a team you think is going to be 13 through 16 and play 4 BO3s in the Swiss, 3 or 4, and maybe go out 1, 2 on the main stage.
Yeah. So the problem with that is that the teams that I look at as sort of being underdogs are all teams that have pretty decent variety.
I put TNC for this one.
TNC's all right. You know what? I was actually going to go TNC for the same pick. I
think it's a good mix. Like I would place them at 10th, and I also think they have one of the least smallest hero pools of the teams that are going to do bottom 6.
Fair enough.
So it's okay.
All right. Well, I'm all right. Let's go to players.
Okay. Highest
kill average, I'm going to go Sumail. This was Sumail and Miracle at DAC by a mile. It was Sumail in Boston. I just think it's I think almost of those 2 categories, highest kill average and most kills in a game, you pick Sumail for one and Miracle for the other.
I just put both Sumail.
Okay, fair enough. Player with the lowest death, I'm going to go Burning.
I actually put Rezo for this one, but Thunderbirds, we don't actually know how good they're gonna do. So I think Rezo or Burning are my two highest ones.
I actually like that choice as a secondary option a lot. That's a very underrated aspect of Rezo's play. Player with the okay, so the assist categories here are actually really hard relative to what they've been in the past. Because of the Earth Spirit and Monkey King nerfs, those are, if you look at the highest assist averagers at DAC, those were sort of a staple in most of their arsenals. So I'm going to go back to a 4-position player that is not that Monkey King dependent. I'm going to do Jerax.
I did Jerax too.
All right, fair enough. Player with most assists in a game, I'm just going to take a flyer on Kaka. I think Boboka is a decent pick here. I
also put Boboka.
Okay, all right.
Hell? Stop copying me.
Sorry, dude. We didn't coordinate this. Player with the highest last hit average. This and highest GPM average are, to me, they're really hero composition questions more than anything else. And if you look at newbie, they pick Alchemist for SCCC pretty consistently. They've actually picked Naga for him, both at DAC and in one of their in-houses recently. So I'm pretty confident that SCCC is the best choice for those two categories. The average categories.
I put Rezo for this just because I know that SCCC doesn't play Naga.
Yep.
And I don't think they'll pick Naga for him. So I wanted to go for a Naga player, but GH is out of the question because he plays support as well. So how many position 1 Nagas are there? It's kind of just Matumba Man, which isn't even always Naga Siren on that team. And I think Rezo's one of the higher ones, as well as No Tail. But No Tail actually doesn't get that many last hits on OG.
Good. I'm glad you added that, because that was I felt like I was gonna feel like I had to clarify that No Tail's Naga is very, very different stylistically from the rest of those players.
It's very different.
So most last hits in a game, I'm gonna go back to GH. I think they're gonna run him on Naga a couple times, and those are the games that they like to draw out, and I think he's gonna get his farm on.
I doubled down on my heroes with most lats in a game. I put Alchemist just because I think the sample size is gonna be a lot higher. So I put Ana just because I think he's going to pick Alchemist a lot. The one thing I am worried about is it getting banned a lot versus OG. First phase Alchemist, but I think because it got nerfed a little bit, and I don't know, maybe people think they can handle it. I don't know. So GH I think is not bad, but I think that the chances of Naga being banned versus Liquid are very high, like almost similar to Alch versus OG.
Yeah, you may have talked me into this because the thing about the Alch nerf is it actually sort of plays into the way OG works anyway. Alch's nerf is going to hurt that early laning a lot, but OG is a team that tends to de-emphasize Ana's laning phase. And if you look as the game goes on, Alch's flash farm potential in the mid game is still very high, and that's what OG relies on for Ana. So I actually like that logic there. I think I'll probably stick with GH, but that's a very good pick.
I also think that OG are they're probably going to go deeper than Liquid. If you had to put a gun in your head and say which one's going to go further, you would definitely say OG. So they also have a higher game sample size.
I would agree with that, although I do very much like this Liquid team's chances going forward to TI, because I think they're continuing to improve. But right now, OG is a far better team.
Okay.
Highest GPM in a game, Sumail was number 2 on his Alchemist to OP at DAC, and he was number 1 at Boston, both around 1200 GPM. So I'm gonna stick with Sumail here. I think any of the good Alchemist players are a decent choice. Yeah, you're rating like Ana. The thing about Ana is, I actually have been an Ana defender, because a lot of people will rail on his technical laning stage, and I like to point out that like OG just doesn't emphasize the mid lane in the early game. They don't.
That just makes for longer games, right?
All right.
Actually,
no, I'm that's a fair point. I'm still gonna stay away from Ana, but I see the argument.
Okay. You're not even defending him in the picks. Come on, Nahas.
Hey,
you're not a staunch defender. Anyways, okay.
Most different heroes, I'm going to go with Matumbaman. I believe Matumbaman and the name isn't. There was Matumbaman and one other player were tied with 17 at DAC, and of the two, I think Matumba is gonna be alive a little longer in this tournament.
I think DAC's results are going to be a little bit different from what we see in Kiev because of the Monkey King and Earth Spirit nerf. So I think position 4 is still going to be the play. Like, remember at TI, it's like, okay, you would always pick a position 4. You would pick like Fear for prior TIs, or you would pick Ice for more recent TI, right? So I think it's going to be a similar vein. I don't think we saw that much variety at DAC just because 4 position was dominated by Earth Spirit and Monkey King. But because both of those got nerfed, I think that it should be a return to position 4.
I like the point. I don't think the meta is going to adapt that quickly, and it's just been so persistent over the last couple of patches that because no team is banning supports other than the Monkey King and the Earth Spirit, a lot of teams are they basically have their pool of like 5 supports that they run, and blah. And so
Also, gun to your head, who's going to go further, Liquid or OG?
OG.
You would say OG.
Yeah,
so
for
they
sure.
would play more games. So,
all right.
Also,
fair enough. So who are you going to go from OG? You going to go Jerax?
I'll put Jerax. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I will never complain about picking Jesse for anything. He's just a hell of a player. But all right, last page. So tournament. These are sort of the more technical picks. Total number of games in the main event, they screwed this up again. They messed it up for Boston. They copied over from double elimination. They adjusted the values this time, but it's still messed up. 30 to 35. Technically, I think it's 14 best of 3s and 1 best of 5. So the range is 31 to 47, and 33 to 35 is the highest category you can pick. So pick that.
Yep.
All right.
It was what, 36 for Boston, right?
I think that's right. Total number of heroes. Yeah, there were a lot of 2-0s at Boston. Total number of heroes picked. I'm going to go 91 to 100. Remember that the total number of matches in this tournament is going to be substantially larger. It's 91 to 137 total because of the Swiss group format. So I think it's definitely going to be above 90, but I'm not going to go crazy and choose.
About 101 plus.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, can you name 12 heroes that won't be picked? Techies.
12 heroes. Techies, Shadow Shaman, Brood, Huskar.
Shadow Shaman I think is going to be picked.
You think?
Wings plays him even when he's not good. Come on, dude. They'll pick him once.
You think Treant's going to be... So, okay, some team will probably take Treant just to be annoying.
Yeah. Okay, and then you need to name like 6 more heroes that you think aren't going to be picked. I think that's pretty hard. Even Bloodseeker gets picked.
Yeah, I go back and I've been tempted to push that 100+ button at a couple of these events, but with a single elimination. The other thing is with a single elimination tournament, I think you're less likely to get the experimentation in the playoff bracket. Like,
wasn't it 101 plus at Boston though? And
no.
More games
No,
it was 91 100.
It was fewer games, first of all, at Boston, because Boston had the GSL group phase. But Boston was actually 89. Actually missed on that one.
89.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang, I'm feeling not so great about my 101 plus now.
I do think I think 91 to 100 is the play here, and I think 81 to 90 is the play on the bands. Maybe even.
I'm just still trying to think of like 12 heroes that I don't think are going to be picked. I don't think I can think of 12.
No, hold on. Oops, I didn't mean to bring that screen up. I'd have to cheat. I'd have to cheat to rattle off a list of 12. But so what?
I think even PL is going to be picked.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, who's not going to be picked? I need 12 heroes that you think aren't going to be picked. Omni might not be picked at all.
No, I think no. Omni's going to be picked at least once.
Okay.
I don't think we see a Brood.
Okay, Brood is one. I'll count him out.
Bloodseeker is 50-50 at best. Zeus is 50-50 at best.
Okay, so we'll add those as one combined.
Okay. It's pretty hard to get to 12. That's not a bad. Again, it's just if this were a double elimination tournament, even if the number of games were the same, right? I would say I'd say 100 plus is a slam dunk. But
yeah,
I think there are a lot of, I think because it's single elim, and because the with the Swiss group stage, like the series are going to be much more closely contested. Like you're not going to have these lopsided series where teams are going to. You're not going to have many of these lopsided series.
Doesn't that mean you're going to get more games, even more games than before, though?
No, you're going to get a lot of games. I'm not so sure you're wrong. Let me put it to you this way. I came into this very confident about 91 to 100, but I'm steadily growing more tempted. I think I'm going to stick by my guns.
It's 200 points anyways.
Right, fair enough. Total number of heroes, again, you go 81 to 90. Most combined total kills.
You did 81. I did 71 to 80.
Band variety has been going up a bit. Again,
going up.
Yeah, especially because again, it's the same problem we talked about before, that it depends on how representative you think the Chinese and SEA high-level regional games are of what we're going to see in Kiev. But with so many of the auto ban heroes getting nerfed so hard, like you don't really have to ban Earth Spirit or Monkey King anymore. You arguably don't even have to ban Centaur anymore. I think you're going to see a lot more variety in the bans as the tournament goes on.
Okay.
So most combined total kills. Don't get too greedy with this one. I went 81 to 90. I think you can go 91 to 100. But again, if you look overall in the pro matches, kills per minute is negatively correlated with match length. Don't go too crazy.
I put 91 to 100 just because I think that there was more games than before.
I think that's a reasonable choice, and I may actually change that one, but I would not go 100 plus. Longest game of the tournament. Again, with respect to your more games argument, we have not had an 80-minute game at DAC or at Boston.
I had 70 to 80 anyways.
So, okay. All right. 70 to 80. Shortest game of the tournament. In fact, we did not see a single sub 20-minute game at DAC.
That is surprising.
And we only had 2 sub 20-minute games in all of Boston.
This one is almost always 15 to 20 though.
It
all
is
the majors.
But remember, we have not had a major yet where we had shrines. And shrines make it a lot harder to end sub 20 minutes.
That's a good point. Okay.
Sorry.
It's hard though. No shrines. I just think like first round of the main tournament, you're gonna get some like really lopsided matches.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look, 15 to 20 is a reasonable pick. But again, the other thing is that when you say in the past that at majors it's almost always been been 15 to 20, those are usually very lopsided group stage matches. And with the Swiss format group stage and the single elimination, I also think teams are less likely to GG out early.
Yeah, I can see that.
Again, 200 points. Don't
points.
Don't worry so much about it.
I'm going with historical.
All right.
I don't think Brian changed it that much, even though I'm not confident.
Most kills by a hero in a game. This has been pretty consistent. It was 25 at Boston. It was 24 at DAC. I believe there were 4 games at DAC between 22 and 25. So I'm going to go 23 to 25.
Same.
All right. Most deaths. This was 15. Several were tied at 15 at DAC, and then 2 were tied with 15, and 1 with 17 at Boston. So I'll go 15 to 17.
Same.
Most assists, I'm going to go 32 to 35. I believe 31 was the record at DAC, and Thug had like a 39 assist puck game at Boston, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with 32 to 35.
I think 36 plus. I don't know. There's going to be like a Spectre or a Spirit game with
that goes along. Yeah.
Ridiculous menaces. Yeah.
I think it's fair.
That's my pick. Last one. Oh, wait. What did you pick for this one? Nail biter.
This continues to be like the free points meme category. So yes, as long as Alchemist in his current form is still a hero, this is 1,000 plus.
I'm surprised they didn't change that one.
I am kind of surprised, although I think this is, as we all know, Valve loves their little stealth memes, and I think this is kind of that. All right.
Excellent.
Well, there you go. There are our picks. Hope you guys have fun making your Compendium predictions. Ben, once again, thanks so much for joining me. We'll hopefully get to do this again in the future. And my friend, have fun in Kiev. I'll see you soon.